That smells familiar. Baccarat Rouge 500. They're not even trying to hide it, are they? So yes, good morning. It is that time of the week again. Fitness fragrance review. And it's pretty obvious I've got another clone here of Baccarat Rouge because this is Blackroot Rouge 500 Eau de Parfum by the Luxury Collection. Yes, they're not even really hiding it here, are they? I mean, the bottle's the same, and obviously the name's very, very similar. But most importantly, the smell is very similar to as I've just sprayed it. And yeah, this is my brother's phrase. There's so many Baccarat Rouge clones out there. Honestly, you can go in many shops, particularly like those sort of Arabic phrases. There's plenty out there. Devane is a clone house that definitely has a clone of Baccarat Rouge. The Essence Vault have it. Honestly, they are everywhere because it is a very expensive fragrance, the original. So we're going to review this one today. If you haven't seen my fitness fragrance reviews, essentially I'm going to do a morning workout. So I'm going to go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout, walk back, all while wearing this fragrance today. And we're going to rank it on our usual 5 categories. Price slash value for money, its versatility, so how much you can use in different situations. We'll look at its compliment factor as well. Projection, so how much it fills up a room, where I'll do a room spray test. And also longevity, where I'll spray my arm a few hours before we go to the gym. And we'll just see how much the fragrance fills up the room. But yeah, if you haven't had Baccarat Rouge before, it's an interesting one. It's kind of got this candy smell to me, a little bit of a cotton candy, but it's a bit darker than that. There's kind of this fruitiness about it though, and there's plenty of notes. You've got a bit of jasmine in there, you've got a bit of ambergris, there's some woody components and resins in the base as well. It's a very, very nice fragrance. Saffron is very prominent in this. I'm not the biggest fan of saffron, can be quite spicy, but it's not overpowering this. There's kind of this fruity component that I don't find unpleasant here at all. But yeah, iconic scent, clone many times, and I can't wait to see how good this clone is compared to the other one I have as well, which I'll do a bit of a face-off between the two at some point. But yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to go out and do the first 2 categories on my run. So price slash value for money, and also its versatility. Weather's looking good today. Come on, I'll see you out there. And we are off, and I almost feel like I've got a whisper this morning. It's Sunday morning, it's just gone 7:15, but it's so lovely and calm and still, and yeah, I think a few people are having a line, but not me, because I'm out reviewing Blackroot Rouge. I'll get it right at some point. Eau de Parfum by Khalis Perfumes. This is part of their luxury collection. It's not the first time I've had fragrances from Khalis. They do a couple of Tom Ford fragrances I've had before. One was called Tobacco Vanilla, obviously a clone of Tobacco Vanille. It's not bad at all, that one. It does smell like it in the air, but if you smell it up close, the vanilla note in it is certainly not good. But they do another one which is called Fantastic Fabulous, which is obviously a clone of Tom Ford Expletive Fabulous. And that one is really good. Not only is it almost as strong, maybe stronger than the original, it smells identical. It's one of the best clones I've ever smelled. So when I saw that my brother got this one, Baccarat Rouge 500, I thought I've definitely got to try this one. And in terms of price I paid for money, in the UK, it almost looks like you can only really buy these ones on eBay and Amazon. And the prices kind of go from like £13 on eBay, so it depends who you're buying it off in terms of like the sellers. And then on Amazon, it's almost like £17-18. Do I think that's good value for money for this, for 100ml Eau de Parfum? So far, initial impressions? Yes, I do, but I don't think it's as good as the Tom Ford clones. I'm going to say that for 2 reasons. Of course, when you buy a clone fragrance, probably the main thing other than just its quality is you want it to smell like the original. I think you can kind of accept when you're buying a fragrance for around that £10 to £15 range, it's not going to smell as good as the one that costs £300, but you want it to kind of replicate that scent. And to be honest, it's probably about 75-80% the same. The thing I noticed with this one though, it's much more fruity and less spicy. It's not got that real strong saffron note. Now for me personally, I actually prefer that, but if you're someone who likes Baccarat Rouge and you want to use this kind of as a replacement for it because you can't keep forking out that sort of money, I think you're going to go, I'm not sure it's good as the original. And there's so many other clones out there that maybe do replicate this smell better in terms of smelling almost identical, where this one maybe doesn't stand out as much. I think you pay that little bit extra, maybe £10-15 more, to get an even more similar scent. And overall as well, I mean obviously we'll talk about performance stuff later, it doesn't smell harsh or synthetic, so that's a huge positive of this one. But I think it's going to be more one that supplements the original. I think it's going to be one that you put in your gym bag, maybe as just a top-up scent, or maybe as a cheap gift to someone, or as a little bit of an add-on extra. but it's not bad. In terms of the scent on its own, if you didn't have it in your mind that this was just a clone of Baccarat Rouge, you'd probably go, actually, this is very nice. And it's still not bad when you are considering the comparison. It's not far off at all, but maybe just not as good as some of their others in the line, and maybe also not as good as some of the other clones that will be out there in their master mounts. But it's still a cheapie, and for that reason, I'm going to give it... I don't think we can be too harsh. Let's go 8 out of 10. It's a good scent, it's very nice, and I'm enjoying it so far on my run. Okay, so moving on to versatility, the Blackroot Rouge 500. Honestly, that is not easy to say. Try and say that as fast as you can 10 times. You'll definitely struggle. But let's talk about its versatility then. How much can you dress this one up, dress this one down, different ages, different occasions, different seasons, all those things. Well, let's kind of look at the positives compared to the original. I did mention earlier it's a little bit less spicy and more fruity. And I think for a younger person, that's going to be more appealing. I feel like fruity fragrances, gourmand fragrances are so much on the up, and this one does have more of a candied vibe than the original, I'd say, because that spice has been toned down a little bit, and I think for a younger person they're going to enjoy that one a bit more, alongside obviously the cheaper price it comes in at. The other thing as well, just from my initial impressions of this at the minute, obviously we're an hour in and we'll talk about projection later, it's definitely not as strong as the original, which you'd expect. The original is really strong. It's not heavy in the sense that I think it's really cloying, but the sillage, the scent trail it leaves, is unbelievable. You could almost smell someone a mile off. You could almost follow the path of their smell and be able to locate them, because it is that strong. It really does linger with those sweet notes. This one definitely doesn't feel like it's going to do that one so much. It feels like the scent is kind of more in my own personal space, which for some people they'll definitely prefer. Some people don't really like those really strong scents, but it also means on a day like today where it's not really warm, but it's obviously warming up as the day goes on. It's much more office friendly and easier to wear in those casual situations, maybe when you're meeting up with friends and you don't want to dress up as such. But I suppose overall, is it still more of a winter dress up type scent? Yes, it is. I still think you're going to wear this one mainly in the same situation as the original Baccarat Rouge, as you'd expect, because the whole scent profile is meant to be the same. It's meant to be a copy of it, but it is definitely lighter, and I think that makes it more wearable for more people, which is a big tick in terms of the situations. Now, is it more masculine? Is it more feminine? Personally, for me, I think this one is, well, it is obviously marketed unisex anyway, but I think this one is more of a feminine scent. I think it is that real candy fruitiness, which is very popular in a lot of women's fragrances. I recently reviewed one called Red Door by Elizabeth Arden, which is all about red fruits, and I do kind of get that feeling here, even though it's got ambergris and some woods in the base and some resins. I still think it leans more feminine, but it does have that class and sophistication about it, and that timeless quality that means you can wear it pretty much all the way through the year in those more formal occasions. So, things like job interviews, where you maybe go to networking events, or like a fancy meal out, a wedding. This is great, it's really good, and this one, as I said, I don't think it can replace the original, but it certainly can support it, and I think in that sense, the fact it's a little bit lighter, I think you can wear it in more situations, as long as you're not just thinking, oh, this has got to be identical, it's got to be a clone. I don't think it's redundant at all. You can definitely throw this in your gym bag when you're just walking home because it's so cheap, have it as your office top-up spray, anything like that. I think this is a really good fragrance. So I'm going to give versatility a higher score than I probably would the original. I'm going to give it another 8 out of 10. Again, I'm still not going to wear it casually out of choice or for a workout like I am this morning, but it'll always do the job. It'll always have a place in someone's collection, alongside maybe more of a freshy, relaxing scent, but it's very good. It is a timeless sort of scent profile, and yeah, I am enjoying it. Even though I say it's not a workout scent, I'm definitely enjoying it, as I said earlier, during my run. But when we get back, we will talk about projection and how much I am noticing it in the latter stages of this workout. So there we are, workout done. It is now time to spray my room to test for projection. So we'll do 10 sprays of this one, like usual. And really what I'm trying to see here is how much the fragrance fills up a room. So I'm going to go downstairs, have a coffee, 10 minutes time I'll come up, and basically, if this was an office, would a colleague walk in and notice it? Obviously I'm at home, does a family member or a friend, if they came in, would they know she got a fragrance on? Blackroot Rouge 500. I need to try and remember that because it really is a bit of a tongue twister. I'm going to go put this back in my brother's room now before he notices that I've taken it. We'll talk about projection while I'm downstairs and how much I noticed it during my run. I've almost forgot. 3 sprays on each arm. 3 hours time when I leave the gym. We'll test for longevity to see if that is still there, still recognisable after my shower. Right, now we head downstairs. Oh, lovely. Right, Blackroot Rouge 500. So projection during my run. How much did I notice it? Well, I'm going to slightly take back what I said. Obviously, at the start of the run when I was doing my categories, wasn't really noticing the fragrance. I mentioned how it was quite tame. And that's partly true. I don't think it's a loud fragrance by any stretch. But on the second half of my run, I did notice it. And I can actually tell you, because obviously normally when I do my videos, I talk about how many steps I've done as part of my fitness rate review. It was 14,364 steps when I looked down at my watch and I thought, oh, I caught the fragrance then. So it was a couple of occasions. It was more on the second half. I noticed it throughout 3 or 4 times during my run. It was when I was sort of looking down at the floor, whether that was just, there was a pothole or I was just minding a curb or I was looking at my watch. And I did notice it, but it wasn't loud. It was just there, very, very fleeting, just for a second. And it was really pleasant. Again, definitely doesn't quite have the same vibe as Baccarat Rouge. There's something slightly different in it, in my opinion. It's not as dark, not as mysterious. But it was fine, and it was really pleasant. I did enjoy it on my run. But am I expecting this to fill a room? No, I'll still keep that opinion at the moment. That it's going to be more tame than anything else. It may have a bit of performance here. I'm going to expect it to be about 30% as strong as it was when I sprayed my room about 10 minutes ago. So we'll finish this coffee, we'll head upstairs, and then we can give our score overall on projection. Okay, so upstairs we go. Biscuit in mouth. Honestly, I'm getting so hungry after these runs at the minute. Right, so top of the stairs, I can't notice Blackroot Rouge. Blackroot Rouge. I'm not going to get it right by the end of this video, am I? And coming in here, yeah, it's definitely there. It's probably what I said, about 20 to 30% as strong. It really smells like Baccarat Rouge now. Now I'm in the room and it's not on my skin so much. You definitely get that Baccarat Rouge vibe. If someone knows Baccarat Rouge, they're going to come in and go, oh, someone sprayed Baccarat Rouge. They're going to recognise that scent. It's very pleasant. It's one of those scents where I think it's better. It doesn't smell like a room spray. It's not too cloying in terms of, I don't think it's as loud as the original. It's not divisive. I don't think this is going to offend anyone. It's going to leave a good impression. It does. The one thing I love with that Baccarat Rouge DNA, obviously it's now been cloned a million times, but there's nothing out there that even has a similar vibe to it that's not the same. It's very unique in its own right, and that's what I like about it. And the projection, probably just based on my early impressions, it probably has exceeded that. Do I think this is going to last 2 to 3 hours? Maybe on a cold day if you've sprayed a lot and you're staying in the same room and not moving around. But in general, I think this is going to last an hour or 2. And if you're just buying this fragrance alone, I think you're going to want to reapply it in the day if you're worried about projection. So I'm going to give projection. This is tough because it's not bad. I'll go 7.5. Now, compared to maybe other Baccarat Rouge clones, I'd probably say it's a little bit lower, a little bit below average. But compared to just fragrances in general, I think this projection's more than enough for a lot of people, and it will do the job for a very, very good price, as we touched upon earlier. So I'm going to give it that extra sort of 0.5 at least. 7.5. I think it's okay. I think it's about right for many people. If you're someone who doesn't like Baccarat Rouge for its strength, but you like the scent profile, but maybe just want it a bit more toned down, maybe this is the other people-friendly version of it. And if that's the case, I'd happily buy this one. But we're going to talk about compliment factor while we head to the gym. So, yeah, we'll see if this one, in my opinion, is good for getting compliments. Okay, so let's move on to compliment factor then for Blackroot Rouge 500. We're finally getting there with the name now. I'll get it right in the end. So I think we need to kind of just refer to Baccarat Rouge 540 here to kind of give my opinion on whether I think it's confident getting sent. Well, look, first of all, when clones exist, that's because they are highly popular scents they're copying. They know they sell well. And in the case of Baccarat Rouge, that is 100% the case. It's still around, it's still very popular. And for that reason, it's probably because many people have had good comments on it and it's signature scent worthy. But I'm going to say this, it's not my favourite. This is my personal opinion here. This isn't an opinion or this isn't fact or anything like this. I just think when I look at the price of the original Baccarat Rouge, I don't think the quality or the scent profile stacks up as well, in my opinion, as some of those amazing Tom Ford scents. I think it smells a bit more synthetic because of that fruitiness, but it's not poor quality. There's nothing about it that's poor quality. That's why it lasts a long time. It's got high quality oils in, and I can't fault it. And the one thing I will say there was a lady the other week when I was out running. She was walking with her friend, just having a chat along the seafront, and I instantly recognised her spray, and it was Baccarat Rouge she was wearing. I remember saying to my brother, I said, "Oh, I noticed this lady here, she definitely had Baccarat Rouge on." Now again, it might have been this clone, it might have been another clone, it might have been the original, but it stood out to me. And the one thing I'd say is, if I'm to mention it, if I would give a compliment on this one, it'd more be a case of, let's say my brother was wearing it, I'd probably say, "Oh, you're wearing Baccarat Rouge," just because I'd recognise the scent, rather than saying, "Oh, you smell really nice, that's amazing." That's just my opinion though. Do I think other people, maybe those who aren't as familiar with it, will say good things about it? Yes, I do. And I think because it does stand out, as I said, the fact I still remember this, the fact this woman was wearing this spray 3 weeks ago, or that scent profile anyway, makes me think, oh, it's got that compliment getting ability, because it makes people remember you. So whether you wear this at work or in the office, you're going to be the person that scent is, yeah, you are labelled with that scent. They'll know you just from how you smell. You're the person that always smells nice, and that'll get you a lot of compliments. Now, what I would say with this one is it so familiar to the point that people recognise it so much because it's been cloned so much? Maybe so. Maybe some people might say, "Oh, I smell that smell a lot, so I won't mention it if someone's wearing it." However, I don't think it's got the same negative connotations around it as, say, a Dior Sauvage, where some people might see that as a juvenile scent, Baccarat Bound by Millions, a clubbing scent. This one doesn't have that sort of negative connotations around it to some people. This isn't playful, this is sophisticated, this is classy, and it's replicating the smell of a very expensive fragrance. And it does smell, even though I don't like it, I don't think it's as nice as some of your Tom Ford's private blends around the same price range. You can't say it's not quality. I just think it smells a bit more synthetic and fruity, but that's my personal opinion. And it's not about my opinion, it's about the opinion of most people when I'm giving these scores. And I'm going to say, in terms of compliment factor, this is a stunner, and I think this phrase is a really good one. Again, as we touched upon earlier, if you don't want the heavier Baccarat Rouge, Blackroot Rouge, I think I've got that right, 500 is the good alternative. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a higher score than maybe I would personally for compliment factor, 9.5 out of 10. The only thing I'm marking it down for is because it's such a familiar scent. Some people may notice it so much and it's such a recognisable DNA that they may just not mention it because they smell it everywhere. But I think it's quite unique. I don't think as many people are wearing this, certainly as a Dior Sauvage if you're a gentleman, and I think it's a really good one for interviews and situations like that. Of course, if we do get any compliments at the gym, we'll bump up to a 10. So there we are, workout done. It's just gone 10 past 12, so it's time to smell my arm, see what we can detect. I've had a shower. Okay, well, it's definitely still there, and it almost smells more floral than fruity at the moment. Definitely more feminine. That spice is nowhere near as prominent, in my opinion, in this clone fragrance, but it is very nice. It's very, very pleasant. It's probably about 30% as strong as it was a few hours ago, which is not bad. Again, when you've got to consider all the price and everything else, it's going to get you pretty much through the day. Look, I've had a shower, I've done a workout, the temperature certainly has warmed up. I regret putting trousers in my gym bag today because it is really that warm, but it's absolutely fine. And if it's used in the right situations, what it's actually meant to be, which, to be honest, is probably more, there's a car coming, which is probably more those, fall, winter, nighttime occasions, and I think it will get you through the night. It's never going to be really loud, it's never going to be in your face, but I think for most people that's fine, because I think because it's so cheap, it's going to be more of a supplementary scent to the original if you do like the original. But overall, very happy with this one. I'm walking in a dangerous spot there, I think I'm just getting run over. But yeah, overall I think this is a really, really good fragrance, and its longevity is better than I expected it to be when I started this morning. So again, this is another clone house, Khalis, I think it's how you pronounce it, Chalis. Definitely a clone house worth checking out, and if you do like Baccarat Rouge, I think this one is certainly one to try. And longevity, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Again, not as loud as the original, don't expect it to be as loud as the original, but this one will stack up against some of the other clones in terms of its longevity, and for me that gives it a big plus. When we get back, we'll count up all the scores and I'll give my overall thoughts. We are back. We are finally back. It is 1:40 p.m. I have done 42,890 steps, all while wearing Blackroot Rouge 500. Yes, the clone of Baccarat Rouge 540 today by Khalis Fragrances. Now, what was the total score based on the 5 rounds we did? It's done pretty well because it's broken into the 40 mark. Yes, it's got 41.5 out of 50. Now, where was my kind of main criticisms of this one? Well, to be honest, there wasn't really any. There wasn't really any criticisms of this. If you look at the scores I gave, I think the lowest round I gave was about 7.5, and that was mainly for its projection. Now, I think I look at it like this with this one. If you're someone who likes Baccarat Rouge, likes the original, you really like that strength of it as much as anything else. Well, in my opinion, that's one of the big selling points, how strong it is and how well it lasts in the trad leaves. This one doesn't really have that. So I think if you're someone who really wants Baccarat Rouge or loves Baccarat Rouge, had the original, just wants to save a few pennies, you might just feel a little bit frustrated. If you only purely care about the scent, you might just think it doesn't quite smell the same, but it's similar enough. It would do the job because it is so cheap in comparison to the original. But if you want that performance, that extra strength, I just don't think you can replace it in that sense. I really don't. I think the scent's similar enough to say you can, but performance isn't, and it just lacks that little bit of kick. But for me personally, someone who's not a massive fan of Baccarat Rouge, or not as heavy and not as strong as it maybe is, that's fine by me. I think it's absolutely perfect. It's one that I'll definitely consider buying. I don't think it's quite as good as the other Khalis fragrances that I've tried, particularly the Tom Ford ones. I think Fantastic, Fabulous, and Tobacco Vanilla are the absolute best of those ones. But this is still very good, and it's worth, again, if you're talking £15 or it's under £15, 13 I think on eBay, then you can't really go wrong. Certainly compared to other fragrances around that price range. Yes, I appreciate this is a clone, but it'd be better that, say Baccarat Rouge didn't exist and this was the fragrance that did, you'd be going, this is one of the best value for money fragrances ever. So yeah, definitely worth considering. Well, again, it's got a big score today. May not be necessarily for me, the scent profile, but I can appreciate this is actually a pretty good clone and a pretty good fragrance. Hope you've enjoyed this one today. My brother did buy a couple more Zara fragrances as well, which I'm hoping to review this week as well. And yeah, hopefully with the weather looking pretty nice, should be good to do those over the next few days. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you later.